we're here. This
Okay.
really is a celebration of an amazing accomplishment and an amazing resource that you've created for everyone else. So
We've created it. I am
yeah.
so thrilled. And like I said, I know you were heaven sent.
Oh,
And
likewise, likewise.
thank you. Thank you.
So okay, so hi everybody. I'm Christopher Driscoll, owner and let me start that over. Cut. Okay.
No, keep it. Keep
Hi.
that one.
Okay. All right. I'm Christopher Driscoll, owner and managing editor of Exact Rush Multimedia Publishing, where we're leveraging extensive publishing experience with direct to market distribution models that ensure authors and content creators retain the value and the equity of their work. We are growing our list of books. Nearly all of them involve some aspect of religion or spirituality and identity formation and self improvement. But the lists continue to grow. And so we're excited about that. With each book that launches, we're hosting an author interview, which is where you find yourself now. And this is, we imagine, as kind of a talk back opportunity for readers and potential readers to get to know our authors and have a behind the scenes look at what went into the making of the book, the production, and the inspiration for the book. So I'm thrilled. This is the first of these interviews. It won't be the last, so stay tuned for more. But getting right to it, we are lucky to have with us Dyan Starr, author of Hallowed Be Thy Name, the Starr System of Numerology, published in 2024. So welcome, Dyan, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here. So with that in mind, could you give us an introduction to who you are? Who are we
Yes.
hearing from?
And thank you for that. This has been so exciting. I'm a numerologist and I got started in numerology because of, well, my mom. And my name had a huge change when I was little. And I would go around telling people, that's not my name anymore. And I was like 3 or 4 and they didn't believe me and I would stomp my foot. When I got older, I said, Mom, why did all our names change? And she said, numerology. To which I said, what's that? And this changed my life forever because her response to me was, you're too young to know. That's what did it. It was an ego thing. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like 9 or 10. You're telling me I'm too young to know. I'll show you. That's how it started, literally. She had so many books, and I'm so grateful for all of the things that she connected me with. She must have had 10 on numerology, and she had taken classes herself. So I went to her bookshelf and started reading it. So the first book I picked up, of course, numerology is one of the most easy disciplines of a spiritual nature to be able to pick up and instantly figure out with some super small calculations and read about yourself. So I was totally caught up because, quite frankly, Chris, it was all about me. I loved it because I'm 9 or 10. And then I read every single book. I couldn't stop reading about them. And I probably read more than 40 in my journey. And I remember being 15 years old and doing a chart for someone who was really old. She was in her 30s. That's how old she was. And she was blown away, and I was hooked. And so ever since then, that's it's been my passion, and I couldn't stop doing it or being drawn to it. My particular method evolved, though. So if you would like me to talk about that, I can certainly do that right now, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a wonderful segue. So, uh, numerology is, or maybe take a step back. Can you tell us what is numerology in as basic a fashion as you can tell us, and then let that be how you introduce us to the star system of numerology?
Absolutely. Well, Pythagoras is the father of numbers, and he says numbers is numbers are everything. They're everywhere. And the moment you have a name and a birth date, and some people don't even know what their birth date is, and you can still work with their name. But the moment you have a name and a birth date, that has a particular frequency. So if I'm born in, like, say, January 2 and someone is born January 3, just being one number different is a completely different frequency, just like someone's phone numbers. You change one number, you get a whole different frequency. Numerology is putting the numbers to the name, to each letter, and doing a simple calculation. And then you see so many things that come into that. With numerology and the name, you can take any name or phrase and any set of numbers and individually see what each number means and then do the total to see what the total represents. And this is so useful in particular for, well, for me, it was nervous breakdown. So I was like, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. What's going on in my life? And I would do a simple calculation, and it didn't make everything go away, but at least it gave me an understanding that was far greater than where my current thinking was in that moment. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Why is my mom my mom? Oh, now I get it. This is why she's been so challenging. I see where her mental illness plays a role in what I need to learn. And it's the most simple way to break down and translate into numbers. And each number has a definition and a meaning, and that has an effect on our lives. And I should put it in a different way, thanks to Joe Dispenza. It's not that it has an effect on our lives, but we have chosen these particular set of challenges, of victories, of gifts that we have, and those are all easily calculable. And having that is very, very helpful. And in particular, one of my friends is like, "What the bleep is going on, and how long will it last?" I get phone calls like that from friends and clients, and it's so easy to just, okay, give me your name, give me your birth date, and then I can say exactly what's going on and how long it will last. That's what it's for. That's why it's useful. Um, and my mommy, Barbara, in heaven, of course, we can never have too many moms. She used to say, we need to have schools based on a numerology model. And I like that idea. So, in a very advanced society, which I'm sure we were previously, it would be like you're going to learn about your challenges now, how best to deal with them. Here's your spiritual path. Here's your heart number. Here are the gifts you're already good at, and then to guide someone in that direction. I liked her idea there, but that's numerology. It's literally, it's very scientific. And I think it's very interesting that I've had people who I worked with when I was in my previous life as a court reporter, one in particular, and she'll be nameless because I love her. And she said, numerology is of the devil. I'm like, okay, I don't see it that way, but I don't see math as of the devil. And so we're very open-minded to math as being a science, but sometimes we're not as open-minded to numerology as being as helpful to seeing patterns in our own personal lives. And that's an easy connection to make from the perspective of numerology. And it's so helpful. Wow. So when I do my own chart and see what my own challenges are, like the thing I love most about it, especially when I'm doing a chart for someone, is I see judgment lift off their shoulders. And I've had to do this for me frequently, and I do because I'm addicted to it. So that's the long and short answer, so to speak.
Wow, that's powerful. It resonates with me too. As a religion scholar, I hear in that story you just shared of someone using religion to stay in denial of greater clarity that they could have in their own life. So that it's really a powerful anecdote. So how do you go from numerology as a science that you're learning and curious about to what's the evolution into the star system? Like how did you come into the clarity for your own version or brand of numerology?
That's an excellent question. I remember in the books that I had, And I have one ultimate favorite that I couldn't get enough of. It was Numerology and the Divine Triangle by Faith Javane and Dusty Bunker. And I read it over and over. I would give classes and have the people who participated have that book as a prerequisite. And I didn't resonate with the divine triangle process in there, but I saw that they had used, it was the first time I'd seen ever, all 78 numbers and the tarot definitions. First time ever. And even in that book, they would break things down to a single digit. And I kept working this process and adding up. I thought, why am I adding up all these numbers in my first name and last name? And then why do I take it all down to one digit? I mean, that didn't make sense to me. So I stopped doing that. When I stopped doing that and I took each individual name I had and clients would have, and I would add that up and I wouldn't break it down, suddenly the information that was literally even right in the book of all the, and any tarot book that will tell you all the tarot cards from 1 to 78, suddenly the information was far more accurate and far more profound. So it wasn't just that, oh, my heart number is a 9. Well, is it a 36? Is it an 18? Or especially with the number 7. The number 7 is completely different and to the number 16. And when I'm saying 7 and 16, I'm talking about the frequencies. 7 and 16 share the same frequency because the math is so simple. For example, the number 16 is 1 plus 6. Well, that gives you 7. That's why 16 is a frequency of 7. So if someone has an experience that they're saying it's a 7, well, 7 is a lot different than a 16, the tower, which is sudden transformation and awareness, which is completely different than a 34, which is also a 7. So as soon as I had this, it felt like numerology went from black and white and into vivid color. And then it was sometime after that, and I really can't remember, that I literally had a dream. And I was so excited about the dream because I had to get up and write it down. And it felt more than a dream, but literally I saw myself in a library and I was holding the book in my hand. And there was this beautiful light that was a beautiful deep blue. And I couldn't tell where it started from or ended, but it went right into my hand and it was up and I couldn't see where it ended. And I looked down in my hand and there is it said, the book I was holding said tarot. And so I knew I had clicked onto something that I hadn't seen in any numerology book before. And I have the utmost and greatest respect for all of those previous authors and all of those books that I read because they are my teachers, because I had no classes to go to. It was pretty unusual to have a class to go to. So the books and pretty much my guides were my teachers, but it was literally Numerology and the Divine Triangle, and repetition over and over. And then that's when I went, wait a minute, if we can keep a double digit in this name and have so much more information and have it be far more accurate, well, can't we do that with someone's birth date as well? So now any of my clients, they're not just like, and I shouldn't say not just, but it's like, if you're a 5, well, in this I'm a 23, and in this I'm a 41. So, and then I'm like, okay, take your, now I can say, get my book for the delineations, which I love doing, or any of your favorite sources for tarot information. That's how that evolved. And ever since that happened, it just, it expanded massively what goes on. And what's really helpful too, and I always share this with my clients. I mean, you can do the same with this book. The moment that I start writing numbers down, I always say, okay, if you have a question as to what this could mean, because there's a few different versions of what could happen in a 16. This could be one, some, or all of the following. Go with the thing that first comes into your mind. And there's never a negative. There's never a punishment. So that's how this evolved. And as a result, and then taking my own advice when I'm doing someone's chart, I'll say stuff that sounds bizarre and weird, but yet it could resonate. And so I always say, I'm not right, you are, but I'm sharing information that you already know about your entire soul's chart and journey. And you can pick any month, day, or year, any time period, present, past, and future. Of course, they all exist at one time with a simple calculation, and you can see what experience you will have. And I particularly like with the personal years, just the month and day you were born, and add that to the personal year you're in, and the calculation, of course, in the beautiful book that I love. But then you can see what's going on. And if there are challenges, because of course challenges make us stronger, I always share, don't worry about what you didn't get right this time. There's no judgment. In 9 more years, the cycle repeats. And if there's any unfinished business, it comes back. And anything you've mastered, it's in your soul and you have it into your heart. So eventually, our external is not challenging and we become calmer, but that's a spiritual process. And literally, I've needed this for mental health. Yes, that's the answer.
Wow. Wow. That's a mic drop moment. That's fantastic. I always say I was taught this, and I always pay it forward too. The best book to write is the one that you need. And so I think you've really accomplished that. You've cataloged your own work, your own journey, both personal but also intellectual and spiritual, to package something that you're going to use, and you know that other people are going to be able to use it as well. That's it's fantastic.
I, I like how you,
Go
I
ahead.
like how you said that because I do believe any great truths are simple. If it's complicated, it's not for me.
Hmm. Hmm. That resonates. It does. Um, I don't know if.
And
Oh, go ahead.
I also like, and I'm quoting David Hawkins here, I'm pretty sure. He said, don't be part of anything that's exclusive. That's not how our souls work. We come to share.
Mm-hmm. It's a good lesson. That was hard learned for me. Uh, I don't like the vulnerability that requires. Not always. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Here's a way I can work on it. Is I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but I dreamt of starting this publishing company, and it was a dream that I woke up, and it was so clear in my mind that I knew that that was the direction for me. So yeah, the name of it and everything it
That
came to me in
is
a dream.
the best. Because that
Hmm.
then first of all, and you sharing your dream and and me sharing mine, I don't believe they're dreams, and it's just guidance. And I do believe that's, well, heaven sent. And that's so exciting because um, I know that well, my mommy Barbara, who I quoted in here, she used to say, if you're not sure about something or anything in life, you ask for confirmation. And she used to say it this way: always ask for confirmation, ask that it be gentle, and ask more than one time. Please and thank you. And then when you get like the dream you had, it's so exciting. I mean, every time I get that guidance, I write it down because I'm totally excited. I feel like
Hmm.
a kid.
Yeah, yeah, same, same. I feel really grateful to to what, the universe, to a higher version of myself or ourselves, however it shakes out. Yeah, it's pretty special. So,
Well, this book wouldn't be here without you listening to your dream.
it's like a bigger version of ourselves. One of the things that is notable about the story you shared is that, so you started with ego. You said, "Oh, well, I was a little girl. My ego was wanting to know." But there was a way that a positive relationship to ego saw to it that you expanded your own horizons of what this system can do. So there's a
Mhm.
way that that impulse, that drive within yourself, it's not all bad. There's a way that it's like riding a wave. You got to get the right amount of it and have it be the thing that you use to interact with the universe, and good things happen. Yeah, it's
Well,
super
absolutely,
exciting.
and every one of us has an ego, and it's a necessary part of our life. and it's also the part that puts in beautiful colors some of our most incredible challenges that we learn the most from.
Mm.
And again, because I love David Hawkins, I remember he and his wife would be, I got to see them in person in Long Beach before he passed, probably when he gave lectures 2 or 3 times. And they said about the ego, treat it as you would your dear 2-year-old toddler. You love
Mm.
them, and then you see that they're having a tantrum, and you don't let them get away with it, but you're the loving parent. I like that one. Mhm.
That definitely resonates deeply with me right now. Um, so let's ask, where did the title of the book come from? What was the inspiration, or how'd you get there?
Good question. So I was going through some crap. Oop, you might have to delete out that word.
No, I think
And
that one's okay.
okay. And I was every night, thanks to my challenges, I was saying the Lord's Prayer and I was focused on it. And every night and then I started to do line by line and pause to see if anything came to me. And then when I got to Hallowed Be Thy Name, I felt like the universe said, duh, to me, that's the name of your book. And I was like, oh, of course it is. So it was thanks to having some incredible challenges. And then for fun, I'm like, I'm going to break down the Lord's Prayer. And it was about, I figured for 10 days. And Audrey and I have used that a lot, my daughter. And like if we move to a new place or where we're at, or if the energy is negative, or if I start breaking things or dropping things, we literally have gone from room to room and sometimes said it 8 different times to clear the energy. And so it was that line that literally stopped me and said, "This is your book." And I said, "Okay, I hear and obey." So I did.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I love it. I mean, it is absolutely appropriate. It's the perfect name for this book, where I mean, the reader learns the meanings and the values of their name. You know, and it's makes perfect sense. Um, that's
It does
great.
show us our sacred contracts, and it is something holy because we are holy. The numbers and the letters, those are just numbers and letters. But once we accept a challenge, then there's, because we bring ourselves into it, our energy, then the script becomes alive, and that's our lifetime. And so we get to honor that, and we bring our love and our holiness into it, and then
Mhm.
we have our own version to put on it, and then when we go back and cross over, we get to share that with God and everyone on the other side. And
Mhm.
that's how I see it.
Wow. I'm reminded of the biblical idea of naming and the importance of naming. So it sounds like really this book is an outgrowth of an awareness that goes back even, yeah, to a biblical notion of Yahweh, the name of God is not so much a name, it is a naming. It is Yahweh means I am that I am, right? So it's something about the intention is what really matters in the moment. And it sounds like you're saying the same thing. The name Brad or Chris is not as much to do with the situation as is the transforming
It's a
your
holy assignment.
relationship to it. Hmm.
It's literally a holy assignment, and I noticed that many different people have many different their own name that they refer to as God or source. And what I love is I'll do the numerology for the word God. And if you're saying God, then here's the energy you are calling to you. If someone else is saying Holy Spirit, then it's different and the energy they need is being given to them. It's like Jesus can be in more than one place at any given time. Well, we each have our own name for that spirit connection that we need to our higher selves, and it comes in its own form. Whatever we use to call that by is what is giving us the sustenance we need for that moment.
Mm, wow, that's powerful. And you do that. You do some of that in the book. You do. You outline the meanings of God as
Mhm.
well. It's a good segue into another question that I had, which is if you had to list your three favorite things for the reader from the book, that is, what are the things that you've done in the book that you think are really valuable for your reader? You list three of them.
First off is the quickie. I love that because anyone can just turn to that chapter without reading anything else, and it's short, quick. Give me 3 numbers, and then you can I do this to myself a lot. 3 numbers, you write it down, you see the meaning for each one, and then you add up the total. And then right away, you have awareness because the moment you say to yourself, I want to give myself 3 numbers, you're tapping into your own subconscious. It's my favorite because it's short, quick, to the point, and it's very helpful. Like I'll do that if I, at dinner with friends or lunch or a party, they'll be like, hey, I want to give you 3 numbers. I want to know what's going on. Quick and easy. That's why it's one of my favorites. The other one is, I'm glad you asked. Very good question. Um, the spiritual path number. And I say this because it's the most profound, I believe, because the spiritual path or date of birth, with a simple calculation, you can put into a simple paragraph the spiritual purpose of this lifetime. And by this lifetime, I mean your entire life. So, as it says in the book, the spiritual path is that which has the most profound impact, both negatively and positively, in our lives. And it's not in your face all the time, but it's your deepest, most long lasting, and most transcending experiences. You will see the aspect of your spiritual number being active. That's my second one. And then the third one, of course, is this is a hard one. I'm going to have to think about this a minute. I'm thinking it's either personal year or putting it all together. I love the putting it all together part because once you write your name and your birthday, you have a bunch of numbers. Who cares? They're numbers. It doesn't mean anything. But the moment that we put it all together and see, like maybe in your chart, Chris, the number 11 is profound and pronounced. You have it in more than one place and at more than one frequency, such as the number 38. That's an 11, 3 plus 8. Then you see someone's intense gifts, intense challenges. And then you can I also like in putting it all together, comparing the heart number to the spiritual path number. And that is in particular because what if we have a 3 heart number and a 4 spiritual path number? Well, those are opposites. 3 wants to spend and shop. The 4, the emperor, he wants to save and budget. This might be in your very own chart. You can see where your own challenges of your own self are when you compare your own heart to your own spiritual path number. Very good question.
Wow. Very good answer. The shifting gears a little bit, I'd like to talk about the writing of the book. So, as a publisher, an author myself, but as a publisher, one thing I'm learning is that there are absolutely brilliant people all over the place with ideas that deserve to have an audience, but with not too much extra time in the day to make a book happen. You know, it's a daunting task to do the actual writing of a book. And we, the company, we're trying to help empower authors and future authors to do that very thing. But how was it for you writing the book? How did you go from interested in numerology, competent numerologist, got your own system of numerology going, to I need to package this for the sake of other people, to actually doing the damn thing? How do you get there?
I love your questions here. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, literally, it's like the dream happening, and in that order, and you hit it right on. First curious, and then eventually doing it my own way. Once I got to that point and was teaching classes, I was realizing I kept telling people a prerequisite is you need to go and buy Numerology and the Divine Triangle. Okay, excellent book. But I'm like, wait a minute, I should be telling them how to do it with my book. And it's that then it was like, yes, the download. Yes, Dyan, you have to write your book. So I'm like, oh, yay, great, this will be fun. So 10 years later, and true story, I wrote it twice. And another true story. Every single number that I wrote, I had an initiation experience that I went through. Both true stories. So yeah, there is this 10-year process, and I literally love connecting with a person, like talking to you now, or doing some when I'm doing someone's chart. That's my passion. But sitting in front of the computer, I'm like, okay, I'll turn it on, and suddenly I went, ugh. And then I literally had to, what helped me write the book, very good question, was instead of just being in front of the computer and a number and writing the properties of a number, clients who embodied that number would, I would visualize them sitting in front of me, and then I was able to write.
That's
Or
brilliant. That's brilliant.
yes, yes, because without that interaction, I'm like, all I have is my computer. This isn't fun. But the minute I put that element back, I was like, okay, I'm on fire. And so, of course, none of these people are named in here. It's all personal and private information. But I even remember a particular individual who, and this was with the number 50, 50. And I have in my own delineations information that's not traditional in some of the others because of all of my years of observation. And in particular, with the number 50, I had met someone and it resonated, and there was some type of sexual healing or reclaiming of a boundary in the family that had been crossed and broken.
Hmm.
And I realized that happening more than once. And so that's in there about the 50, and 5 is about the senses. And our sexuality is part of our spirituality. And some people have had shame put on that. And when I see that, typically they have a 50 as a spiritual path number or showing up in a significant place where, you're doing a great job reclaiming this. You deserve to have joy in your own body. And for some, that was taken away. So
Wow.
that I forgot your question now, but it was a good
Wow.
one.
How did you approach writing of the book? You're answering it. You're answering so much more than that too. To think of the book as something that will allow people to heal, where they are. Imagining there are things we can share with our numerologist and things we can't, and having a book, enables a person to do a bit of heavier lifting perhaps than they would
Mhm.
be able to do because they're just some things hurt too badly to share. Even though that person might not be in denial of that thing, there's a the boundaries have been broken, and they have to be conscientious of protecting themselves. And a book allows a person to do that healing, growing work, um, not alone, but in an asynchronous fashion, in a way that helps them to know that they are safe while they're doing it.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to see, in particular, if, say, for example, an 8 will show up, and in particular, if the 8 shows up as karma. Um, and I just recently did a chart for someone, and I saw she had a pinnacle that was 35. And again, I take my own advice. The first thought that came to mind is what I said. And I said, hey, right or wrong, this pinnacle. So, were you married to a narcissist? And it was so cute. Her mouth was open. And I was like, okay. And she said, yes. And so these numbers carry some significant burdens that we choose to carry, but then in the carrying of them, in particular the karma, then they become our power because we're not here to keep a hold of the burdens. We have them in the beginning until we actually delve into them, and then it gets lighter and lighter. So, whenever I see someone's karma, I always assure them, by the way, I know this is showing up in different places in your chart, but then this is your power. Never again will someone be allowed to cross your boundary, and you get to set them. So I love seeing that. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and I also wanted to add one other thing here that was very significant and important during the writing process. There are two different things I noticed in numerology books regarding the personal year. And I spent some time observing my own life. And in the 10 years process, I had 10 years to see what felt true for me. And I had help with muscle testing and many different clients. There are two ways to calculate a personal year. And in some numerology books, it is said that on January 1, your personal year changes. That's one way. The other way is your personal year is from your birthday to your birthday. And I found that in my own observations, from your own birthday to your own birthday is the one that resonated and is accurate. So even though I got a lot of good information from, like I said, my teachers, they were my books, I realized that the birthday to birthday, that's your own personal year, regardless of, when we celebrate the New Year's, you're still in the personal year until your birthday comes around. So that took, I noticed my own personal life cycles, and I was in particular being aware of it for about 3 to 4 years during this 10-year process of writing it.
Wow. I'm struck and reminded that this book is for both novices, new folks to numerology, as well as seasoned vets, as the detail that you're sharing really attests to. It's like you're not just an average Joe at numerology. You really are an expert at this, and it's cool to know that we can trust that this has been penned by someone we can trust. Absolutely, it's
Thank
fantastic.
you. I loved it. And literally, it was all my worst challenging moments in life that I turned to it. It was never the good ones.
That is maybe that fits with this next question, which is what was the hardest part of writing the book? Maybe it wasn't the book writing that was the hardest part. It was the
Me.
yeah. You? Okay, yeah.
I
Tell
was the
us.
big challenge because, okay, life would happen, right? And in 10 years, a lot of life happens. And my brain would say, go sit and write the book. I know I have to write the book. And I'd be like, nah, I've got this going on. I've got that going on. But I would turn to numerology for the challenges because and my own method, because that was very comforting. But was I writing about it? No. So I was the biggest obstacle to my own book. And then, oh, I forgot to add this part. I literally wrote it twice. I thought I had it all written, and then I didn't like any of the delineations I wrote. It felt like I was telling you, it felt like I was just sitting in front of a computer. So I scrapped that all 78, and started over again. And this time I literally would say a prayer and do my meditation and then write and then
Mhm.
call in the connection of the heart that I felt for previous clients and friends. That made it happen. And then I was excited because I was on a friend's podcast talking about this. And then I'm like, yeah, the book's all done. And I went back to the first part, and that was missing. So I wrote it twice. So I was my biggest obstacle,
Yeah.
and I had to write it twice.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, as you're talking, so the I don't, will it pick that up? Yeah. So anyway, I'm just showing the delineations. They are so thorough, and encyclopedic, really. They show a command of the material, and they are extremely useful for me as a novice, but not even a novice, as someone who's a beneficiary of numerology, but knows very little about it. I'm not very good at math either. Uh, it's an extremely useful set of delineations. But as a writer, I know that there are a lot of things in my head that will be useful for a reader, but that are not easy to put on a page.
Yes.
Go running the gamut from like organizational stuff to it just being boring because so much of it could be basic. Putting it on the page and making it usable for someone else is a tough challenge, and you've done a fantastic job of it. Um,
Thank you. That with the help of my publisher, Chris. I love it. I sent you all of it and came back looking much better. I'm like, oh, I like these words.
well, we do our part, we do, but you were the genius behind it. So
Thank you. I'll take that. I
the,
like to hear the word genius,
the
in
credit
particular
is
because
yours.
now I'm a grandmother. And so now my daughter thinks I'm brilliant.
Yeah, well, you certainly are and are deserving of that moniker. And you also author is another moniker you seem to embody, talking about being your own worst obstacle to getting a book or a writing finish, that's what writers that's
Yes.
that's our plight. So absolutely that fits. Um, okay, so oh, go ahead, go ahead. What were you about to
I
say?
was gonna say yes, I was my own biggest biggest stumbling block and procrastination and putting it off. And then and I'm sure you noticed this too, when I started my flow back up, and then I'd go to sleep, and about 1 in the morning, I'd have to wake up because then all my greatest thoughts, I thought at 1 in the morning, wow, I'm brilliant. Well, clearly were being downloaded. So I'd have to get up and write this brilliant stuff down and then look at it in the light of day. So yeah, and then I would stop my flow for a while, sometime even a year, and then get back to it. And then 1 in the morning, it's like, don't you guys ever knock on my door at a time when I'm awake? No, no, Chris, they don't.
Mm-mm. They don't ask permission or what your schedule looks like. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's for sure. Um, this is so fun. So let's think of the reader a bit more. What is one thing you hope readers can take away from your book?
How simple and easy it is.
Hmm.
It's very simple concept, and you don't have to read the whole book. And you can look at each of the different numbers independently and calculate it. And I'm also hoping, just like I got hooked when I was young, that if it's about you, you'll want to learn more. Um, and I don't care if it's from an ego standpoint or not. The more we know about ourselves, the more we, kind of feel that settled in type of peaceful place. And I like that anyone can read my book. I mean, I was like, what, 9 or 10 when I was reading other people's numerology books, and they were equally, I felt simple to understand and read, and I appreciated that. And that's always what I wanted to have. Although back then I didn't realize I'd be writing my own. Um, and what I really want them to notice is that each individual name they have is an important aspect of what they have accepted as part of their sacred contract.
Hmm.
So, like my name, Dyan, and my last name, Starr, each one of those is something that I'm here to give life to experience. Whether we know it or not, we are. So each individual name is as critically important as the total.
Wow. Is there a particular audience? Do you think is there a certain kind of person who might benefit the most from this book, or is there a target in your mind for who you'd like this book to reach?
That's a good question. And I personally want every human being on the planet to have 1 to 3 copies of my book.
Yes, yes, so do I. I do too.
But I view it as the people who are interested in numerology. It's an interesting set of people. They're very open-minded and very curious, and they haven't said, I'm not allowed to learn this. This is evil. This is good. There haven't been those labels, just more of a curiosity. But other than the entire planet each having 1 to 3 copies of my book, I would like, I like the term Gnostic, you know, because I think of myself that way. And for me, my definition would be seeker, one who doesn't have answers, but is curious about anything that might make sense. And it makes sense on so many profound levels. Just like the simple nut, like eight. Eight is about strength and power and executive abilities. Well, most of the 800 numbers are given to businesses. And so
Oh,
then you also go nine. Nine is the number of endings, and you make a phone call. It's like dial 9 to end this call, and answer 1 for yes and 2 for no. Same in with tarot and numerology. 1 is a yes, 2 is like not so soon. So just seeing that everywhere. And no, of course, if I'm out shopping, especially if it's in like they're some of the nicest people I've met, and they'll give me like their the month they were born and the day they were born, or 3 numbers, and so then they're intrigued. So I think there's a lot more people who would love this if they knew what it was and how simple it was.
mhm. Wow, wow. That sounds great. I'm also thinking about just how confusing life is these days. It seems like tomorrow is always more confusing than today. And so I imagine the audience for people trying to figure out ways to make sense of themselves and the world that they're in, that audience is going to grow as, as things
And
get
well,
weirder.
also, if you're curious about the year 2024, like just like it says in my book, add the 2 is the high priestess, 0 is divine protection, and then the 2 and the 4 again, and the 4 part is the emperor. Well, then you say 20, and 20, which is Judgment, and then the 24. The 24 is our Queen of Wands. And then you break it down that way, add it up all together, you get an 8, and then you'll see many different experiences that everyone in the world will be having for what the world will have for the year 2024, because it's the number for the world. So if you're
Wow.
curious for the world, just add up 2024. If you're curious for you, do your own calculation for your personal year. So you can figure out anything you want because it's all frequency and vibration and there are no mistakes. So
Wow.
it's kind of, in fact, okay, here's my game since you asked. Whenever I'm in traffic or if someone cuts me off, instead of the bird, now as a wiser, less prone to anger numerologist, a patient person, I see what the last 2 numbers of the license plate are because I'm like, that's a message for me. I'm like, you
Wow.
think you cut me off, but you've given me a message.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful life hack. That's
It
incredible.
is.
That really
It
is
literally
incredible.
is. And then we'll
Wow.
crack up because I have a someone who I love dearly, and his spiritual path is 56. And if we're taking a long trip and I see it over and over repeatedly, I go and give him a call. I said, hey, okay, what's going on with you? And do we need to do an angel spread? Because you kept showing up today. So that's kind of fun.
That it sounds like it.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so a few more questions and then we'll start to wrap things up. Um, you've mentioned several of the numerologists who taught you and inspired you through their books and also the other ways. Uh, are there any who you want to name drop or specifically mention that have been uh, extra influential on the star system of numerology? Maybe one, two, or three, maybe?
That's a challenging one because it wouldn't really change from my previous answer of numerology and the divine triangle by
Yeah,
Faith
that's
Given and Dusty Bunker. And I have to say that and give them that credit because that they were, until mine, the only numerology book that also had all the tarot delineations. I would love to add more to that, but they were the only one. And like I said, I've read more than 40, upwards of 50 books. All of it, I would just devour them, like stay up all night for 2 nights in a row. And okay, got it. Um, and I never saw it in another book. So I will just, I will give credit to the universe because I think that's always where, and we are each born with our own gifts. We are each anointed. We are each the chosen one in something. And that number, by the way, is your heart number. So if you're curious and you want to know what your gift is, it's always the heart number, the vowels. Um, so I'll just share that with the universe, but it's Faith Javane and Dusty Bunker. They got me on the track, and I'm like, this is in their book, but why are they not taking it this step further? It's such a simple step. And then that's when my dream, like I said, of the book. And so I would say, I like to think of that as Archangel Michael, because I call for help every day. I wake up in the morning saying, please, and I list all these ascended masters, including Jesus and Holy Spirit. And at night, I go to bed and I say thank you to the same list and my guides. So I know, like we just channel the information, and when we get to share what we're good at, we're happy.
hmm
So
Wow,
that's my passion.
that's a good answer. It is. Um, let's see. What else? Well, the next question is about inspiration. So I turn here. If this is too personal, you don't have to, you can just set it down or pass it. But the book you dedicated to Cassie, Dylan, Audrey, and Amari. You said it, my constant source of unconditional love. Is there any sort of shout out you'd like to give to them or context that you'd like to give to your reader about that source of inspiration that they offer you?
Absolutely. My children, and Amari is my now grandchild, my greatest dream ever in life coming true.
Oh,
And as children, they have each child of mine, I've got 3, each one has put me through a different sort of hell and a different sort of heaven. And each one of them has made me terrified for their lives in a different way. And I don't want to get too hugely personal here, but um, uh, one had an intense experience, let's just say, and was a gift from my brother and his wife. And I'd never been a mom before, and she just showed up. And I remember having a dream about babies. And so that would be my oldest. And some of her experiences, like literally saving her life from, I'm going to say it and I'll ask if there's permission to leave it in, but human trafficking, and literally with police and detectives, more than twice I saved her life.
Oh my gosh.
But then she saved mine.
Hmm.
And she put me through so much drama and incredible experiences. And there was, you know, as with kids, love and hate. And I knew, in my family there's lots of drugs and alcoholism, and that feel free to put anywhere. And I knew in this beautiful child, that she had something very broken, and her journey would be huge. And the dream I had about her before she ever showed up in my life, was just me hugging and crying this blonde chick. And in my dream, we were both hugging and crying. And I said, I don't care. I love you anyway.
Mm.
And that was one of my children. And I actually gave birth to my other two. And my son has severe mental health issues that are debilitating. And what he taught me about myself was powerful. And for a while, and I know this is not an uncommon experience, there was a legal battle with my ex and me, and I had lost custody of him, and the court split us up. I had custody of my daughter, and my son went to his dad, and then he refused to speak to me for 5 years. And at one point, I was able to approach him and say, um, and I give this credit to Hoffman because I didn't have the words, but my heart was in the right place. And I literally reached out to him one day and I said, I love you. I don't know what your experiences were. Can you please share with me, especially your pain, and especially the ones I caused you? Because I have no clue what it's like to be you. And God bless him. He said, Mom, I forgive you and I love you, but quite frankly, I don't really remember much. And so he let me in his life, and now we have a relationship today. And then my other child, she loves horses. And one day I saw her. She has some health issues. Like, she passed out while she was on her horse. She slid off of him, spooked him. He took off running. She was dragged and ended up underneath him. And I saw him go up and down. Thankfully, he didn't smash her head. It was her hand. And I thought she'd be dead. So I absolutely love my children with all my heart. They each terrified me for their lives in a different way and taught me so much about myself.
Mm. They have
And
that. They have that effect. They do.
well, I know I don't have a website. I know I should, but I don't. I've always been a recluse. Um, but I have an email and a phone number. So
Cool.
text or email.
Awesome. So we can include that in the video description. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So you also said that there were some other books that you thought you might have inside of yourself. So you care to share anything about what those might look like?
Sure. I was thinking about one of them. And I think it might need to be called Pinnacles. You know, we all have four. They're each one of them is our learning environment, so to speak. And I've learned a lot by screwing up a whole lot. So I find massive humor in, when I look back at all of the crazy stuff I went through. And so I think it's kind of, I think it's helpful when we share our life story, first for us, and then other people can laugh at me too.
Nice, nice. I know what you mean. I sure do. Well, cool. Well, I guess I will certainly look forward to that, and I'm sure many of your readers will as well. So next up, can you talk a little bit about what it's like what it has been like working with Exact Rush. Um,
Oh,
has
well,
it?
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the way I found you was very fortuitous. Um, so I'll start there. I was definitely sending out to God that my book is now done and complete, and I just need the right people and the right publisher. So I know you'll send that along. And then I get a phone call, and it was a friend in common. Um, and well, I'll just say, Dr. Don, we love you. And he had paid for Kirsten to get a reading from me. And so that's how I met Kirsten. And we had a fabulous time. And she was amazing. And she said, like, do you have, what do you have? I said, I wrote a book and I need a publisher. And she said, my dear friend's son, because I knew I didn't want to go and find one. And I was asking my universe to send the right one. So that's how you and I met. And then it was really easy to work with you, and you were very encouraging every step of the way. And I really appreciated that because I knew I needed a publisher because I only know my aspect of my what I do, and publishing is a whole different world. And I remember all those years as a court reporter, people were strongly discouraged from representing themselves in the legal field. And the judge would always say, well, sir, would you want to do brain surgery on yourself? And so I always had that in mind. I'm like, I don't want to do brain surgery on myself. I need someone who knows what they're doing. And you clearly do. So it was really easy. All I had to do was oh, what I really liked too, you sent me the contract, and my court reporter eyes, I went over it line by line. And anything I had an issue with, you were more than gracious to explain it or make it so it was address all of my concerns in a very fair way. That was really, I really liked that. And in fact, it was in going through the contract and your willingness to work with me, and so that I would be comfortable for the terms we had. Because I knew I had to write one or two more books even after I wrote this book. But it was after going through the contract with you and your willingness to make me feel comfortable with the terms we had that I went, if I do, I should say when I do another book, I want you, Chris, to be the publisher. And I would not have said that had you been hard nosed about some of those things in there. Like if you would have had in the contract, you must have another book about, or if you have another book, you have to use me as the publisher, I wouldn't even be considering writing another one. It's that thing like if you tell me I have to, I won't.
Right, right.
So what I'm saying is I don't see you as a control freak, but very open-minded and wanting to do business on an equal level. And that was very appreciated and I think rare. So that was pretty um pretty telling for me as to what kind of person you are. And so I just was comfortable in let me just sign away and whatever other books, he has to be my publisher. So
Well, that's
that was just that peace of mind and knowing the quality of person you are to work with, that was made all the difference. All the difference.
well.
So
Thank you.
I thank you for that.
No, I thank you. I'm humbled by that feedback. I'm grateful for it. I'm genuinely grateful for it because it helps me to do better next time, to prioritize, strengths and get rid of the weaknesses, whatever, like it helps
What
to hone
weaknesses?
what
I
I'm
haven't
doing.
seen any.
Yeah, they're there, they're there. But yeah, I mean, the company really is all about ensuring that authors and creatives are able to retain as much value from the work that they do as possible. And the marketplace is equipped now to enable authors to do that. But the simple truth is that books rarely, if ever, are they produced in a vacuum. The author is the author, and even if an author knows how to do the production side of a book, an author needs to wear the author hat in order to get the most out of that experience so that the book can have the best author that it can have, you know, in that moment. So it really always takes a team of folks to make a book happen. And we're working to empower authors to make to leverage what the market can afford at this point and make the best possible book that they can as well. So I'm
Well,
glad.
also, I was expecting that the process from when you and I started working together until publication to take a minimum of 2 years, and it didn't. I was like, what? You just put it in the microwave and push zap and it's ready? So, yeah, I think you have some magic button over on your side where you
Uh,
just put it in there and it comes out. So, yeah,
well,
this,
we are trying to make sure that the process is expedited. Um, so that's part of our namesake, you know, the rush and exact rush is what we don't think that publishing should take 2 years. And it really does. I've participated in projects of my own that have taken, I think one of them took 4 years. And there's no need for it. It's, you know, a person does the work in a number of days and then they send it to someone else who's busy with another workload, you know, got other projects, and it stays on the back burner for months and months and months. It doesn't actually take the 2 years in order to get the work done that's required of a book. It is a lot of work, but most of that is dead time that is wasted. So that's another thing we're trying to make happen. So I'm glad that you feel the effects of that, and we are thrilled that you've worked with us. So it's wonderful.
well, if you ever want to know what exact rush means, just use my book and you can do the numerology for exact rush.
That's such a great idea. That is. I'll have to take the time to do that.
I've
Well,
actually, just a quick note in here. I had the honor once of a dear friend of mine. She had given birth to a little baby girl who survived for 4 hours before
mm,
moving on.
wow.
And I had the honor of helping her choose a name. And it was such a beautiful, profound experience. And also, every once in a while, I'll get contacts from people who want to know what their business name means.
That I haven't thought to apply these tools to that, but I certainly will
Yeah, you
now.
can.
Yeah, I had mentioned to my or my partner Kelly last night about the license plate thing, and I think as so brilliant. I'm so excited to apply that to my own life. So
Right? Keep the book in your car, but don't read it while you're driving.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
I guarantee your road rage will go down instantly when you see someone suddenly cut you off and then you realize it's a message from your guides.
Mm. So a
Proven,
wonderful way of navigating life. Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
Reduce road rage. Get my book,
Definitely.
but don't
Well,
read and drive.
I've got one more question and then we'll wrap things up. Is there any final thought or thoughts that you'd like to leave with readers and potential readers?
I hope that you catch the bug as much as I did. And it's incredibly simple. It has to be because I won't do something that's complex or complicated. And usually the most beautiful things in life are beautiful. And if this is as helpful or even somewhat as helpful to you in your life as it has been to me in my sanity, then that's everything I ever wanted.
Wow. Well, we are all collectively better off for you having taken these 10 years to write this book. So thank you so much, Dyan. That is it for this interview, this book interview, this talkback interview, where we're celebrating our authors. Dyan, we really are all grateful that you're here helping us make sense of um, whatever it is that we're all sharing in this experience together. You know, it's a wonderful, exciting, amazing, weird thing, this thing called life, and you're helping us make sense of it, and that's incredible. So
Thank you.
we
Much
really,
love.
all of us at Exact Rush, and all of your readers believe in what you're doing, believe in hallowed be thy name, although my screen is not there. I'll leave it like this. So to all of you out there listening, we ask three quick things. One, if you haven't yet, buy a copy of the book. Head to Amazon and pick up a copy. The link is in the description. Two, once you've read the book, take time to leave a review on Amazon. Make it an honest review. We're not asking for sycophants. We're only interested in producing quality content, so we're not afraid for you to give an honest review. So leave an honest review. If there's room to grow, let us know on both the author or the production, the publisher side. But we think that you're going to have more good things to say than constructive criticism. We're pretty confident about that. So leave a review. And then third, tell your family and friends. The books don't sell themselves. And the way that they sell themselves, or the way that they get sold, is through word of mouth more so than anything else. So if you've enjoyed this book, if it has helped you and your life, if you feel empowered by it, please share the message that it is available, and that Dyan is also available for readings and to be in direct contact with as well if the words in here resonate with you. So that's all I got. Any last words from you, Dyan?
One last thought I had was that the more I did numerology, the more profoundly affected I was at the thought of creator or source being able to have, for example, all of my numbers and all of your numbers, and you and I interact, and they interact at the exact right time, and everyone else in my life and everyone who's born. It's profound to be such, I'm thinking source is such a brilliant mind to perfectly place us at the exact right moment, exact right time for ourselves and everyone else we affect all at the same time. It's like I've heard scientists say, the more they've studied like quantum physics, the more they feel this is proof of God. Well, it's a brilliant mind to keep track of every one of us and interacting in a loving way at all times. So I had to throw that out there. The math, just the math alone, if you do the math for every single human on this planet, knowing that we each interact with everyone else in this profound, healing, loving way, that to me is proof of God, just to
Wow.
put out there.
This is a wonderful final thought to end on. Thank you again, Dyan. This has
Thank you,
been a
Chris.
wonderful conversation. If anyone out there is looking for a publisher, think of us at Exact Rush. We'll leave the info for connecting with me and with us down in the description too. Otherwise, thank you all, and we'll see you all around.